The gods of Theros in the set Beyond Death have deemed some mortal souls worthy enough to serve as their divine champions, imbued with drops of Nyx, some percent of their unbound godly powers. The Pantheon don't share their blessings with any common soldier or mage. They must be spectacular in life after succeeding in unbelievable deeds. Yet while this power may be a blessing, the circumstance around that service could be damning. Let's take a look at the hero of Akros, Anax, and learn what the cards don't tell you about him becoming a demigod of Purphoros. What exactly happened to Anax and Cymede? Hey guys, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today's topic is on Theros Beyond Death, our second trip to this plane ruled by powerful gods. The celestial beings of Nyx are at war, and in a war, they have selected their champions, having them ascend with sparks of their godly essence, transforming these individuals into demigods. Today we'll break down the story of one of these demigods, Anax, hardened in the forge, and discover how he went from king to axe-wielding savage fighting for his god, Purphoros. First, let's quickly run down what a demigod is and who can become one. Demigods are actually a new creature type in Magic the Gathering, and it goes well with the enchantment creature theme for the gods on this plane. Unlike the gods themselves, demigods aren't immortal or indestructible, and they don't necessarily need devotion to become actual creatures. They instead use devotion to their chosen god to enhance their strength, tying them closely to the whole godly theme that really defines Theros in these sets. The idea of who can become a demigod, well, it's really up to the discretion of the god bestowing the blessing. It's typically mortal beings who have shown great devotion to their god throughout their life, who are also accomplished warriors or military tacticians. Demigods are a thing in Theros Beyond Death because the gods themselves are at war, so the demigods are first and foremost weapons. With that in mind, anyone who meets the god's needs can be granted these powers and be lifted to a demigod status, even if that person is already dead. Take the demigod of Erebos, god of the dead, Tamaret. Tamaret, known as the Murder King, then the Chosen from Death, was actually a zombie when he ascended to demigodhood by Erebos. Despite being a return, the zombies of Theros who escaped the Underworld, Erebos believed this bloodthirsty savage warmonger possessed just the right skills to make a demigod. This was also very similar for the demigod of the great Heliod, god of the sun and bringer of life, Daxos. Daxos, at the time of his ascension, was also a returned, wandering Theros with no real identity and only experiencing grief. Heliod used his godly being to return Daxos to life and to make him the chosen demigod of the sun, meaning just about anyone can become a demigod. As you can see, the gods are privy to champions, living or dead, assessing their traits and deeds, making a select few their demigods. Now back to the topic of today's video, Anax and how he became the demigod of Purphoros, god of the forge. To understand why Purphoros selected Anax, you must first learn his story, which took place on our first visit to Theros. We learned that Anax was the powerful warrior king of Akros, the most militaristic, honorable, and Spartan-esque city on Theros. He earned his title despite being a relatively small and weak child, especially when compared to his siblings and even his younger brother. However, Anax trained and trained, preparing for the Akroan Games, Olympic-style games used to show devotion to the city's chosen god. Not Purphoros, but Aroas, the god of victory. Akros is all about winning. Games, war, arm wrestling, it doesn't matter. The Akroan just love to win. Aroas is the god of honorable victory, and basically the quote-unquote good qualities of war, if that's a thing. So no wonder Akros devoted its worship to Aroas. So Anax spends his time training, learning the teachings of Aroas, but still lacks the strength to beat his brother in a traditional wrestling match, one that could determine a new ruler for Akros in their royal family line. Now, what Anax lacked in pure strength, he made up for in military strategy and mental brilliance. Now, don't get me wrong, Anax is still pretty ripped, just not the strongest man in Akros, but he was smart on top of that. He knew his brother was a cruel man, evil and sadistic, who would go on to make a terrible king for his people, so rather than beat him and win the people's favor through strength, Anax tricked his brother in revealing his true nature. During their match in the Colosseum, the whole city was watching. The brother of Anax showed how cruel and careless in victory he could be, shattering every tenet of the Akroan battle code and spitting in the face of their god, Aerois himself. With that, Anax was declared king, and a beautiful young woman, a powerful mage in her own right, was presented to him as a bride. This would change Anax's life more than any other event so far, the day he met his beloved Saimede. Saimede has her own storied past, being a strong mage and oracle for the god Kuranos, god of storms and visions. Anax and Saimede fell into deep love and ruled together as equals, king and queen. They were the greatest heroes of Akros, and their royalty. At the time of their leadership, while powerful, Akros was still a relatively small political power on Theros. To help expand his city's influence, Anax switched to following the god of the forge, of destruction and creation, Purphoros. This saw Akros explode in new and creative ways. Forges were now producing some of the most artistically sound weapons and armor on the plane. Public forums became more than simple shouting and wrestling matches, and it truly was a golden age for Akros. That is, until the usurper looked to ascend to godhood. The planeswalking satyr of Theros, Xenagos, plotted his rise, and it all started with Akros. His scheme was to get Minotaur tribes, followers of Mogis, the god of slaughter, basically all the bad bits of war, and twin brother to the god Aerois, god of Akros, to attack Akros in a full-scale furious assault. It was pretty simple to pull off, as those of Mogis despise anything related to Aerois, and they basically just went in to gore everything. As they marched on Akros, the Planeswalker Elspeth Tirel, now champion of Heliod, comes to render aid, yet Akros is not helpless. They are a city of warriors, and their king, Anax, would take the field with them. Saimede as well would use her powers to protect Akros by praying to her god, Kuranos, for a blessing, which took the physical form of a giant water elemental from a nearby river. Anax went to battle, striking down countless foes, but found an oracle of Mogis named Rorden Rageblood. Meeting the Minotaur in one-on-one combat, Anax quickly got the upper hand with his quick, skillful dodges and counterstrikes. However, the Minotaur spit in the honorable rules of combat and received a powerful boon from his god Mogis right in the middle of the duel. Savaged blood filled the Minotaur's veins, and the tide quickly shifted. Blessed by a god, Rorden stabbed the king of Akros in the stomach, who managed to get away only when reinforcements entered the fray. Anax lived, and his city, with the help of Elspeth, managed to push back the enemy forces, but the celebration wouldn't come for Anax. While his people partied well into the night, feasting and enjoying life, a party that would go on to give Xenagos the godhood he desperately sought, Anax, wounded, sat on his throne, with another throne beside him empty. His love, Saimede, had gone missing during the battle despite staying safe within the city's walls. Reports came to Anax that the blessing she asked for from Kuranos required a sacrifice, yet none were available. Fearing the life of her husband and the welfare of Akros, Saimede was showered in the glowing light of starry Nyx and vanished, just as the giant water elemental came to the city's defense. It is unknown Saimede's ultimate fate, but what was clear is that she would no longer be Anax's queen. Anax's story really just ended there for the remainder of the original Theros block. We don't hear much from Akros or their mourning or their injured king, yet now in Theros Beyond Death, Purphoros, the god of the forge, has forged Anax, the former king of Akros, into his demigod. As stated before, demigods could actually be made from those who died, so maybe Anax succumbed to his wounds, but at the end of Theros, it's really made to seem that he lives and grieves for the loss of his queen. So then why does Anax decide to fight for Purphoros? Why is Anax chosen to be the demigod of the god of the forge? Their relationship is like that of many that serve a god as a demigod. Anax is a powerful weapon used by Purphoros in his new war in Nyx, the war between the gods. The two main combatants in this conflict are actually Heliod and Purphoros. To make a long story short, Heliod demands that all worship him, all mortals and all other gods, including the proud Purphoros. This of course didn't sit well, and Purphoros rebelled, gaining allies who in turn fought against Heliod and his allies, and boom, the start of a full-blown war in Nyx. Anax proved himself a powerful warrior, standing against the god of slaughter and his boon and holding his own. This is depicted on the card, the Triumph of Anax, a saga which shows the exact great deed that allowed Anax to become a demigod, why he was selected to become a champion. Purphoros was impressed by his tactical mind, switching from his native god of Iroas to Purphoros because it was what his city needed to grow. Anax is a devoted follower and brought thousands of new devoted followers to Purphoros at a time when devotion was needed for this godly war. For that, Purphoros selected Anax to be his demigod. Still, why would Anax accept this blessing? If he didn't die from his wounds, he was logically still the king of Akros, the ruler of a powerful and proud city. Choosing to be a demigod meant leaving all that behind, leaving your people behind, to become basically an instrument of a god. Yes, it's a great blessing, and Anax is devoted, but can anyone really see him leaving his people for any reason, even to serve Purphoros? No, Anax wanted to become a demigod for another reason, the chance to join his beloved in Nyx. Remember, Saimid was sacrificed to Kharanos, being seemingly absorbed by starlight and taken into Nyx, the realm of the gods. Anax couldn't be with her, talk to her, and would also never again be with her in the afterlife in the Underworld if she was in Nyx. They would never ever see each other again for all time. With this blessing of Purphoros, Anax is given a chance to enter Nyx as a demigod, a chance to find Saimid to be with her once again. As a tool of Purphoros, Anax now wages war with finely forged weapons and armor crafted by the god of crafts himself, mowing down countless foes. But when this war is done, Anax hopes that he can have a will of his own once more, and more importantly, be with his beloved Saimid for the rest of time. And there you guys go, the story of Anax, king of Akros, who became the demigod of Purphoros to one day see his long-lost love again. His rise and trials in life left him uniquely prepared to fight for a god in a war between gods. He now thinks of nothing but victory, pulling back to his roots as a follower of Iroas, while saying a single name over and over, the name of his queen, Saimid, so that even in this state, he'll never forget her, no matter how long he must serve as a demigod. Guys, this is a cool character, and a really cool design for a card. Uncommon, no less. But let me know, guys, did you enjoy the video? If you did, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tick the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. And as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!